Hey, good morning, guys. I wanted to share something with you, and it's like God had to openly rebuke me to get me to come on and share what I'm about to share. And I don't know why it was so hard for me to share this, but maybe about 2021. And I was living in Florida, but now I currently live in a place called Lake Nona, which is on the outskirts of Orlando. But I remember I was here and the Lord was dealing with me so strongly about the state of Florida now being a state where it's open carry when it comes to guns. And wasn't really thinking about it. Kind of heard about it on the news and a couple of people talking about it. And to be honest, I'm actually a concealed carrier myself, and it's been a concealed carrier now for years, but never really kept up with whether or not it was concealed open carrier. Just the fact that God has given me wisdom when it comes to being able to carry a firearm. But it was back probably in 2021, and I was flipping through some prophetic words that God gave me. And I stumbled upon a prophetic word that God gave me, which branched off from a dream that I had in 2001. And I'm going to share the dreams with you guys, and we're going to kind of talk about it. And it was back in 2001, and I had a dream that I was in Florida. And the dream, at first, everything looked so peaceful, and the sun was shining, and you saw families, and they were walking together, and people, they were laughing, and they were enjoying each other. But as I began to look closer in the dream, I noticed that almost everyone had a gun. And they were not hiding them. They were wearing them out in the open. And some people in the dream had them strapped to their hips. And a lot of people in the dream, they was carrying like badges, which they was very prideful. And at first in the dream, it didn't seem like it was a problem. But because in the dream, you saw the people, they were smiling at each other. They were nodding their head at one another, like with confident and proud. But then what was crazy in the dream, I began to see a dark storm, and within that storm it was a cloud, and that cloud started forming from a distance, and it wasn't like it was a normal cloud. And in the dream, I noticed, y'all, that the cloud was shaped like a tight, angry fist. And in the dream, it began to move slowly towards the state of Florida. And the closer that it got to the state of Florida, in the dream, you can sense and feel the atmosphere change. My God. And then in the dream, people started looking at each other, and they started looking at each other with suspicion. And then what was crazy is that in the dream, I began to see the dark shadows that came from the cloud, and they begin to start whispering in the people's ears. And as they was whispering in the people's ears, the people's mind begin to be filled with fear and anger and distrust. And then you can just feel in the dream how the whole atmosphere shifted, because it seems like what was once friendly, you can begin to feel the tension in the air. And what was crazy in the dream, two men began shouting at each other, and then you had a father who was arguing with another man in the dream concerning his son. And then you begin to see, as they was arguing back and forth, they begin to take their hands and put their hands over their guns. And then it's almost like in the dream, the atmosphere got so thick and heavy And then it was to the point where you can feel like, and it was to the point where you knew that something was about to happen. And then all of a sudden you begin to hear a gunshot. And once the people begin to hear the gunshot, things begin to get chaotic, y'all. It's like people started panicking and they started running for their lives. And what was crazy, that as the people started running from their lives, it's like there were other people that started pulling out guns and they started shooting. And it was crazy. And all of a sudden the neighbors looked like they started switching up on each other. The ones that lived next door, the ones that would invite certain ones over to their house to eat dinner. It's like everything became chaotic. And they were fighting like enemies. I mean, it was crazy. You had to be in the dream to actually understand exactly what I'm explaining. And it was crazy that as things was happening, that dark cloud began to expand and to get wider to the point where it was covering the whole entire state of Florida. And in the dream, I remember, y'all, I was just screaming, and I was I was saying in the dream, stop. And I was telling the people to stop. The real enemy is not each other. It's the evil, my God, that is influencing you guys. But the more I begin to scream and begin to tell them to stop, it's like I was being ignored. No one listened. And what was crazy, y'all, in this dream, it's like I saw blood running through the streets, and it was flowing in such a way where it began to form a warning, y'all. And what was crazy is that it formed a warning by way of writing in the street. I'm talking about it was the blood that was flowing that began to write these words in the streets. And the words that the blood began to write in the street was, law without wisdom, my God, brings war. Law without wisdom brings war. And I remember, y'all, way back then, God began to wake me up and to begin to give me the revelation, and God began to tell me. He said, son, I'm showing you this because things are going to begin to happen when the state of Florida become a state of open carry. Because at first, y'all, in the dream, it seemed like everything was a good idea, and the people, they were feeling empowered, and they was to the place of feeling like they were safe. But even in that dream, over time, you begin to see the fear. You begin to you begin to see the anger begin to arise. And all it took, y'all, was one incident, an argument that caused a misunderstanding in the dream. And simply because of one incident, things become chaotic and things begin to spin out of control. And after God began to show me this years ago, I remember sitting up after having this dream, and I was saying to myself, what this dream is revealing is that without proper rules, without the people being educated and having wisdom, that guns out in the open was going to lead to chaos and violence. Y'all, it's happening. It's happening. And I was thinking about this earlier today, and as I was thinking about this, God spoke something that was so profound. And God spoke to me. He said, son, America is dealing with a president that thrives off of violence. That's what the Lord told me. He said, son, America is dealing with a president that thrives off of violence. And y'all, I begin to think about that thing. And it's not about just the state of Florida only, because there are other states that allow open carriers when it comes to guns. But I'm sharing this because God told me, he said that when Florida becomes a where it's legal for open carry, he said you're going to begin to see things shift. And the Lord began to tell me, he said, I want you to begin to not only to the state of Florida, but to the other states. Because God's saying, wake up and see the strategy. There's a hidden agenda. And that's why we're going to have to be wise as a serpent. And we're going to have to be humble as a dove. With everything that is being passed, with the laws that are being passed, y'all, we're going to have a level of wisdom. And the Lord began to talk to me. The Lord saying, son, what I want you to share with them, let them know I'm not saying any of this to frighten them, but he said to tell them that I'm releasing this, that they may not be deceived. They may not get caught up. They may not get tangled up in what the prince of this world is trying to do by way of open carrier. And the Lord tell me, he said, the reason why I want you to share this with the people is to reveal the deception hidden in what would look like freedom. Thank you, Lord Jesus. And the Lord began to show me as he began to talk to me concerning this. And he began to show me how this thing would change the heart of men. And simply because carrying a weapon, I'm talking about carrying it openly. The Lord saying, son, what it's going to do is going to stir up fear. And not only is it going to stir up fear, but it's going to cause a lot of conflict. And I asked the Lord, I said, what do you mean that it's going to cause a lot of conflict? And the Lord told me because he's going to cause a lot of conflict because what seems like protection will now appear as a threat. And the Lord told me, he said, son, when this begin to happen, then it's going to be people losing their lives. And the Lord told me, he said, son, the reason why, because he say the laws are written with gaps and hidden restrictions. And the Lord told me, say, this is where the conflict is going to come. And that's why many people are going to stumble unknowingly, not knowing that they're breaking rules they never understood. And the Lord told me, he said, son, he said, the trap is being established. And he said, what's going to happen if they don't discern? He said, the unsuspecting will fall into this trap. And the Lord told me, he said, tell the people, don't be fooled into thinking that visible weapons is going to bring safety. And the Lord told me, he said, we got to be there, we got to be careful. Because he said what is going to happen is it's going to bring more tension. It's going to bring more violence. And the Lord told me, he said, rather stopping it, it's going to increase it. And the Lord told me, he said, many are going to see what they thought is a shield, was a shield. It's going to now become a spark. It's going to cause some things to happen. And the Lord told me, he said, the reason why, because he said what they're doing is that they're releasing a spirit of confusion concerning this open carrier. And the Lord told me, he said, because many will break the law without ever knowing it. I'm telling y'all, we got to be mindful. We got to be watchful. We got to be discerning, because God began to tell me. He said, son, it's going to come a time and you're going to see it like never before. The ones who are meant to protect you. Law enforcement. We're talking about the officers. God saying they're going to begin to see people as being more dangerous than anything. And the Lord told me, he said, son, the reason why, because fear even rise up in the law enforcement, the officers. And he told me, he said, and this is where, son, you're going to see the confrontations begin to multiply like never before. And you're going to see force that's going to be used like you've never seen it before. And as the Lord was beginning to talk to me, he began to show me, he said, son, you're going to see the anxiety and the fear that will grow in homes, in the hearts of the people. And the Lord specifically spoke to me. He said, especially in the children. Because the Lord told me, he said, son, what people would see as being normalized as safety is going to become a source of fear and harm for those that and who are vulnerable. I'm telling y'all. And the Lord told me, he said, son, it's being presented as a freedom. And the Lord told me, he said, not just as a freedom, but the promise of freedom. But the Lord say, it's wearing a mask. And I said, Lord, what do you mean it's wearing a mask? And the Lord told me, say, son, hidden behind it are accidents, theft, misunderstood threats that's going to bring harm to many, said God. And when the Lord began to talk to me, the Lord saying, son, this is where you're going to see the politicians and voices of power. He said they would show rare stories, but there are many stories that they're going to hide simply because of the harm and the many losses. He said you would never hear about them. You would never see anything about them in media. Because he said it would be such a great deception when it comes to the people, because he said what they're going to do is cloud the truth of what safety really means. And I wanted to come into Shirekatandio Shabalsi. I wanted to come and share this, because the Lord is speaking. And the Lord is calling you to a place of wisdom. He's calling you to a place of discernment, not fear. Now we got to be very mindful and look beyond. We got to be able to look beyond. Now we got to be able to see farther than what we're able to see. We got to be able to seek understanding. We got to be able to guard our hearts and our communities. Because how many of y'all know that God is speaking tonight? He's speaking this morning. Because his eyes see what is hid. And he's warning us before it's too late. And like I said, we're not just talking about the state of Florida, but think about Chicago. Think about all of these places that Trump is sending to other cities. Because it's going to all be a setup, y'all. It's going to get to the point where he's going to declare martial law, or try to declare it, I say. I don't know how many of y'all feel about people who are in ministry, people who say they're saved or whatever. I don't know how, because some people feel some type of way when they say, oh, you saved and you carry a concealed weapon. You know how some people can be. But I been carrying for years. But the thing about it, God will give you wisdom. And that's the thing that I rely on. I don't take it and just walk around and brag because I carry it. But how many of y'all know we have to have wisdom? The situation that happened a couple of years ago in South Carolina where the young man walked in and killed those people at the church. I know we saved, but God, he still gives us common sense. It's not like I'm going out trying to look for trouble or start trouble. But let's be honest, y'all. We living in a real world. So I just wanted to release this to you guys. I know some of y'all might feel some type of way, but I'll pray for you. So y'all just continue to pray for me. I love you guys. And I want you to share this with as many people as you can. Love you. Continue to pray for me. And enjoy the rest of your morning.